File number 5, ACA 7, Assemblymember Jackson, if you're ready.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and committee members. This is ACA 7, a Legislative Black Caucus priority bill, and I'm grateful to Senator Smallwood-Cuevas, who would like to be added on as a co-author. This ACA aims to clarify Section 31A of the California Constitution to curtail the abuse and misuse resulting from its improper application, and to ensure the constitutional provision aligns with the voters' intentions in 1996. With me today to speak on the impact of this bill is Dr. Chris Nellam, Executive Director of Ed Trust West, and Thuy Thi Nguyen, education lawyer and partner at Garcia Hernandez Sawney.
Good morning, Chair Wiener and members of the committee. My name is Dr. Christopher Nellam. I serve as Executive Director at Ed Trust West. We're a data-driven organization committed to advancing systems-level change to remove the racial and economic barriers that are in California's education system. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on ACA 7 today. I want to do two things with my time. One, I hope to remind us what the bill is asking of the state. ACA invites us to recognize lots of social science research, which indicates clearly that targeted evidence-based supports work. The bill is also asking us to reaffirm our commitment as a state to student success across the board. If the voters approve, the bill would also allow us to do something very specific, something very basic, but I think something very important, and that's to use data to understand where students are being underserved, and then to act on that information. It's my belief that that's not political. That's what effective systems do. We ask businesses in all sorts of industries to improve when things are not going well. We ask them to identify what's not working well and focus their resources there, which leads me to a simple point. I think when we refuse to target resources, particularly precious public resources, at best we're being inefficient, and at worst we're neglecting the very people who our state is intended to serve. And so for us at Ed Trust West, ACA 7 is about following the data. The data will tell us where to focus, the data will tell us where to invest, and the data will tell us as a state where change is most urgently needed. And right now, Prop 209 in its current form is preventing us as a state from acting in that evidence data-driven way. I'll just close by saying it's my belief that California has a compelling interest to close these gaps, not only because it's the morally right thing to do, but because many would argue that our economic future depends on closing racial equity gaps.
Good morning, Vice Chair and for the Chair, committee members. My name is Thuy Thi Nguyen. I'm an education lawyer with a specialty in equity education. For more than 25 years, I have served as general counsel for several organizations and institutions, including the California Community College State Chancellor's Office. I have also served as a president of a community college. Is the state of California interested in closing the student racial equity gap so that all students, no matter their background, can succeed? Is that interest compelling enough that Californians are willing to allow and enable educators at their local schools and colleges to have the tools they need to close those gaps? There is a wide range of tool strategies that educators are using to close the racial equity gaps. This set of tools, race neutral, under Prop 209, are being used by our public schools and colleges. These tools address various aspects, characteristics of the students and their individual needs. And then there is this set of tools, race-conscious and race-based tools that are narrowly tailored to address another aspect of racial equity gap, race itself. instead of being blinded by the realities of such gaps, recognizing the need to remedy and reverse the effects of racial isolation, systemic racial barriers. These tools have very clear research evidence significantly narrowing and closing racial student success gaps. These tools are measurable and look at the whole child. There are some courageous leaders among us who feel that it is morally compelling to explore these race-conscious strategies after exhausting all these tools here, and to do so legally without running afoul of the Equal Protection Clause of the U.S. Constitution and its strict scrutiny review, or even Prop 209 of our state constitution. As a California appellate court in American Civil Rights Foundation versus Berkeley Unified School District's integration case stated in its ruling for the school district, not all race-conscious actions are meant to be eliminated by Prop 209. That is why ACA 7 clarifies what is already legally allowed, but educators are too fearful, too unsure to employ. And then ACA 7 amends, sending a clear message, the legislative intent that we want our schools and colleges to use all the tools they know that will work as long as they do so without violating the Equal Protection Clause. Thank you, Assemblymember Jackson, for ACA 7. I am available to answer any questions the committee may have.
Okay, is there any other members in the audience Me Too statement? Identify your name, organization, or your position.
Good morning. Carol Gonzalez on behalf of Hispanos Organized for Political Equality. In support, apologies for not submitting the letter in time. The board just approved it last night. Thank you.
Good morning. Clara Medina Maya with Californians for Justice in support of ACA 7.
Good morning. Dominique Dene with Ed Voice in support.
Good morning. Tanisi Herring on behalf of the NAACP California Hawaii State Conference in support.
Carl Bingston from the Black Parallel School Board. I support.
Raquel Morales on behalf of Ed Trust West in strong support. Also doing a Me Too on behalf of Little Manila Rising, Prismatic Research and Strategy, Californians Together, The Village Method, Black Educator Advocates Network, and Children Now.
Okay, I see no other person. Is there any lead opposition witness? Okay, why don't you step over to the desk? Go ahead, each person will have 2 minutes.
Good morning, Senators, and thank you. I am Maimon Schwarzschild, Professor of Law at the University of San Diego, speaking, of course, in my own behalf. I oppose ACA 7. First, a word about some misinformation. ACA 7 is not a clarification of Proposition 209. Rather, excluding public education from its protection, it rips the heart out of Prop 209. If the voters adopt it, K through 12 schools will no longer be subject to Prop 209 at all. For example, race preferences and admissions to gifted and talented programs and schools will no longer be prohibited by it. As for higher education, the only thing that will still be subject to Prop 209 will be admissions and enrollment, and that's only because even on an absurdly narrow reading, the clear and unequivocal Supreme Court decision in the Harvard case forces them to make that concession. Financial aid will be the issue that matters most, because that's the second most common place to find race discrimination in higher ed. And that's the issue that the Task Force on Reparations has put forward. The Black Caucus and other advocates of ACA 7 have repeatedly said that its purpose is to help carry out their reparations recommendations. They've been explicit about their desire that college tuition should be free for African Americans. ACA 7 will seem to authorize tuition grants for some and mere loans and long-term debt for others based not on need, but on ancestry and skin color. Make no mistake about it. This will be a referendum on reparations, an exceptionally unjust version of reparations. It will be poisonously divisive. Professor Harriet can explain the evidence that it will probably lose at the polls. Even if it wins, any action taken under it will likely lose in court.
Please wrap up.
Sorry? Yeah.
Please wrap up.
Certainly the courts today and in the near future. While the Harvard case was about college admissions, the Supreme Court made it clear that it will apply broadly. I'm quoting here, eliminating race discrimination means eliminating all of it. I urge you to think again about moving forward with this, especially at this time. I'll be happy to answer any questions, and I thank you for hearing us.
Okay, next person. Also, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I'm Gail Harriet, a law professor emerita at the University of San Diego. I oppose ACA 7 for oh so many reasons, including these 3. 1, it will lose. The previous effort to gut Prop 209 went down in flames in 2020 with more than 57% of voters voting no. And here's the kicker, that's despite the fact that the yes side outspent the no side by more than 14-1. Ask me for details about this issue of whether it will pass. I can give you a lot of information on that. If anything, ACA 7 is even more likely to be defeated since its most important effect will be to authorize financial aid discrimination, which, with the exception of reparations activists, hardly anybody supports. Colleges know which students need aid based on their household income. They don't need to add race on top of it, such that the African-American son of a millionaire gets a free ride while a less well-off Asian American has to pay. 2, even if it wins, it will lose in court. As Professor Schwarzschild has stated, the Supreme Court's 6-3 decision in the Harvard case was very broad, stating eliminating race discrimination means eliminating all of it. 3, when this bill was introduced, the plan was to put it on this year's ballot, but it has since been amended to hold the election in 2028. Thus, it is completely unnecessary to make such a momentous decision 2 years ahead of time. The original plan would have been extremely ill-advised right in the middle of the Trump administration. The Justice Department would have instantly instituted a compliance investigation and could have cut off the UC's and Cal State University's federal funding, potentially costing billions of dollars. As amended, it's only marginally less terrible. Trump will still be there for 2 more months, and more importantly, we don't know who the next president of the United States will be. DeSantis, Rubio, Vance. If it is, it could again cost our schools billions. The only thing ACA 7 supporters are likely to get out of this divisive campaign is a couple of political and legal precedents not to their sponsors' liking. And it's a potential fiscal catastrophe.
Please wrap up.
I can wrap up, yeah. The last thing that California needs, whether they support ACA 7 in substance or not, is a divisive campaign that will ultimately be futile. I urge you to reject ACA 7.
Any audience also in opposition, you can step forward, express your position.
Hi, my name is Eva Zhao. I'm from Equal Rights for All PAC and Californian for Equal Rights Foundation. I'm strongly opposed ACA 7.
Thank you.
My name is Christine Yin. I am a concerned citizen of California, and I strongly oppose ACA 7.
My name is Li Taoyin. I'm a citizen in California. I strongly oppose ACA 7.
My name is Caitlin, and I am a citizen of supporting.
Okay, you are opposing, yeah.
Yeah, I have strongly opposed ACA 7.
My name is Xueli Mendel. I'm a California voter. I'm strongly opposed ACA 7.
I'm Austin, and I'm a California high school student, and I'm strong for ACA 7.
Frank Xu with Californians for Equal Rights Foundation, strongly oppose ACA 7, and also represent San Diego Asian Americans for Equality. Thank you.
My name is Arthur Mundell. I am a California student. I strongly oppose ACA 7.
My name is Caleb Liu, and I oppose this bill for all the reasons the professors mentioned.
My name is Xiaomei Zhang. I'm a concerned parent and educator. I strongly oppose ACA 7, keep discrimination illegal. Thank you.
My name is Isabel Lee. I'm a California voter. I'm a parent. I am a concerned citizen. I strongly oppose ACA 7. Is actually a discriminated act.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Jing. I strongly oppose ACA 7. Please keep discrimination illegal. Thank you.
Thank you. I see no other person. It's a time now to bring to the dais anyone who would like to ask a question. Okay. Seeing none, let me ask also a few questions. I dealt with this same issue in the election committee, and there was an education committee. And being this is an election committee, I don't know why we are dealing with this one, because this is a mostly education concerned issue, but maybe because that's a constitutional amendment, I think this election committee is reviewing this again. This bill is specifically asking for different educational teaching methodology based upon race at the ethnic group. Why are you?
It does much more than that.
Yeah, it's much more than that. However, basically, this is concerned about inequity in education based upon the racial background, right? So now, this amendment, ACA 7, is asking for constitutional amendment. My basic question is that treating even teaching methodology differently based upon racial background and ethnic background. Proposition 209 was approved by California voters in 1996, and Proposition 16, which would have attempted to repeal 209, was rejected by the voters 2020 because voters thought the ACA 7 is, to me, none other than similar to Proposition 16, to treat the racial background as a special character, and in the classroom, the treatment of a teaching methodology shall be different. And then I stated many times in the Education Committee that equal rights for any social background, the racial background is so important, and this country has been striving to achieve that so hard. And now this amendment is trying to dismantle that the principle. That bothers me a lot because as a minority member myself, based upon my background, my ethnicity, this will treat me differently. I don't know whether they'll be positively treating me, my children, my grandchildren, or negatively. And I mentioned that civil rights movement was all about equal treatment, regardless of your racial background and ethnicity background. This country is made up of immigrants from all over the world, and you can claim the special characteristics at the preferences based upon the country of origin, your racial background, or you emphasized the last time culture, black culture, Asian culture, depending upon whatever the culture that is, treat me differently. Then we have more than 200, I believe, national origin and ethnicity background. Even Asian population alone. I come from Korea, and all Asians look alike. They may be all same Asians, but we have characters. Koreans do have their identity, and so does the Chinese, and the Japanese, Vietnamese. They have their own culture, so their learning method, maybe preference, may be different. Why? What? Does the current equal treatment in the classroom would not help learning the lessons in the classroom by the teacher by treating them all equally? Why doesn't it achieve the same outcome? Because we are all the same in some God-given talent. Some will excel, some will do average, some will lag, regardless of which background you come from, which culture you may come from, which origin, the country of origin you may come from, which ethnic background you may be. There are always, bell curve kind of a phenomena happens. That's the nature. And now you are saying, treat me differently because I look different. I think this is a fundamentally going against the civil rights movement that we have achieved. And 209 specifically, our Constitution states that no person shall be treated differently, should be treated equally. That's what the Constitution says. But this amendment says small segment, education is concerned that we learn differently, treat me differently. But other than Black Caucus demand, no other caucus, no other racial caucuses are demanding that. How can you justify your ACA 7?
Senator, indeed. And there's nothing, I would submit, that Proposition 209 today, as it stands, prevents any school educationally from treating each student as an individual. And whatever appropriate educational needs are not in any way impaired by Prop 209 as it today stands. But ACA 7 goes far beyond that and authorizes exclusion admission to specialized, talented programs and schools and preferences for some inevitably mean discrimination against others based on ancestry, and likewise for scholarships and tuition aid. So that this ACA 7 goes far beyond educational strategies which indeed are untouched by Prop 209 as it now stands.
Can I add here, the whole purpose of public education has been to create a common American culture that includes things from African American literature, it includes things from Asian history, it includes all sorts of different things. But Brown versus the Board of Education has already decided the notion that the educating people separately based on race because they learn differently, that was argued in Brown, and now we're hearing it argued again today. I think the most important thing to remember about ACA 7, beyond the notion that it creates, it's a bad idea to say that people should be educated separately and differently based on their race, but it also involves things like financial aid. It involves things, and that's what the Task Force on Reparations has asked for. They have asked for Prop 209 to be repealed so that free tuition for African Americans to colleges and universities, subsidized tuition to private schools for African Americans in particular, all of this would be authorized by ACA 7. If the idea here is that students should be taught something about African American literature, well, that's happening now, and that should happen now. There's no problem with that. Every student should learn about these things.
Mr. Chair, did you want me to answer the question that you posed?
Yeah, I would like to hear
I'm going to ask one of our Black Caucus co-authors, Dr. Sharp Collins, and of course, Dr. Nellam, to come up to be able to fully answer your question.
Would you like to come up? Yeah. Why don't you yield your seats for her to sit down and.
All right. Thank you. I'm Assembly Member Dr. Lachey Sharp Collins, proud co-author of this bill. There's a point of clarification before I get into expressing a little bit more about how vital ACA 7 is. One, Brown versus Board of Education was about resources, and I want to make sure that's clear. It was about curriculum. It was about making sure that there were clear pathways that are going to be readily available to people of African descent. But ACA 7 is vitally important to make sure that funds can be targeted to Black student achievement within the K-12 education. We know that Black students are the least resourced students, and they are the lowest performing students, and that is by no accident. When you look at the data, African Americans are at the bottom for math, they're at the bottom from reading, and then things continue to go on and on. The question becomes, why is that? School resources, when it comes down to equal achievement, has, once again, studies have shown that there is a clear disparity. But more money that is targeted to Black students, it means that there will be better facilities within the low-income communities. When you look at the schools that are in low-income communities, they're not fully equipped adequately with proper books, proper materials, but also when it comes to the instructional materials, they're not even up to date, and that we have issues with our teachers being properly credentialed. When it comes to Black students as well, when we start talking about the educators, we know for a fact that when you have more professors or even teachers that look like them, our students tend to perform higher. And I'm stating that also as an adjunct professor at San Diego State University. I know that our reps are here are from San Diego, but I'm also from San Diego. I teach in the Black Studies Department, the Africana Studies Department, and in the College of Education. I teach a classroom of diverse students. The majority of them do not look like me. But when it comes down to making sure the information is adequately shared, that is relevant and that is positive, and being able to make sure that we have resources that are available, whether it's for scholarships, whether it's for programming, it's for classroom materials, these things are 100% vital. And in the K-12 system, it is completely lacking. And what else can we do to ensure that we are able to have enough material in the classrooms is to come back and look at ACA 7, look at Prop 209, and try to identify where are the gaps, what is happening, why is it that resources are not reaching. That's because people don't have a clear understanding of how that previous law was implemented. There should be no rhyme or reason of why we cannot break down certain areas and make sure that all students of color, but I'm going to say Black students, as we are speaking of in this case, can be able to have enough of the material that needed so that way they can survive and thrive in this educational system. And this bill is one way to help ensure that resources, opportunity, access, closing the opportunity gap can actually take place. I'll turn it over to you.
Sure. I think a couple things. One is that the status quo is not neutral. Currently, the school system is producing outcomes that are pretty predictable on racial lines, and I think tremendous bodies of research have shown that actually ability does not differ by race and ethnicity. Rigorous, serious scientists have proven that time and time again. So what that leads me to, and I think should lead all of us to, is the question of like, why are we looking at data that tells us a system is preferentially contributing to outcomes that are not good for our state? These sorts of gaps are contributing to, one, the race-neutral approaches we've tried seem to not be working. So I think that should lead us to the question about what other tools are available to us. And I think the other question we have to ask ourselves is, why are we ignoring data that's telling us that we should be using different tools? So for me, this isn't about individual outcomes, and I don't think that that's the intent. This is about shifting out structural, institutional-based outcomes so that we see more kids reading, so that we see more kids being successful in math, so that they can graduate from our institutions of higher ed and contribute to our economy. And right now, I would argue that the legislature's investments are being diluted because the state is unable to invest in the precise ways that the data is telling us that we should be.
Let me summarize my understanding. Your ACA 7 is California Constitution shall place more resources to specific ethnic group of Black students because of resources are necessary in education outcome based upon the availability of our resources. That's basically what you are trying to say.
No, what we're trying to say, Mr. Chair, is that the current system as it stands today is not working, and it's not working equally for everybody. And there's a difference between your experience and my experience. My ancestors didn't come here by choice. They are not immigrants. They were forced here. What's also different from your experience and my experience is that my ancestors, as well as our Native American brothers and sisters, were systematically stripped from their culture, from their history, from their religion, and from their language. It was systematically done and enforced by the Supreme Court, enforced by this government, including the state of California. What does that do to a people? And ever since after, institutions have systematically oppressed and marginalized Black people. So it's by no mistake that the people in this country and this state who have the lowest life expectancy, guess what? Are Black and Native Americans. Those who have the lowest home ownership rates, guess what? Black and Native Americans. Those who have the lowest educational outcomes, guess what? Black and Native Americans. And I can go on and on and on to demonstrate that our experience and what this country has done to us and what this state has done to us continues generation after generation, which is in direct contradiction to what we have been striving to do since the civil rights movement. That was only one step. And so I would just submit to you that what's also different between our philosophies is that even if one group says we are being hurt, and even if it has nothing to do with me, I'm going to say, tell me what you need, because your harm is my harm. And it doesn't matter if I truly understand your experience, because I can never truly understand your experience. But what I do know is your pain and the history that this country has and state has done for you. And so all we're saying is the Black Caucus is making this a priority, not on mistake, not because this is something we like to do. What we're saying is that we're being harmed, our children are being harmed, and you may not fully understand it. But what we are asking you to do is to support it, and our word is, and there's many laws on the book, will prevent any other harms that would be done, or what these boogeyman scenarios would be done. That is not our intention. And that's what our laws are for, and that's what our courts are for. And so we would just simply say that we know you don't understand, we don't expect you to understand, and thank God you don't understand. Because we wouldn't want this experience to be put on anyone in this world.
Okay, thank you for your position.
Can I please?
Let me respond first. I do know the black history, dark history in America here, but through the ages of effort, the dark age is over, thankfully. And as Asian American.
Says who?
Yeah. I'm sorry?
Says who this age is over? This is a bunch of black folks right here who are telling you, and you're trying to tell us what's over?
On the Constitution of the United States, California Constitution specifically states that no person shall be treated
And what we're saying is we don't care what the Constitution says. What we're saying is we live it every day, and the words have not fully been realized. And we are here to ensure that the words are fully realized. Again, don't try to explain our experience. Don't try to explain what is happening to us. If you want to oppose it for your own ideological purposes, just oppose it. But what you're doing right now is immoral, it is unjust, and I suggest that you just allow us to close.
I don't understand. One second. Let me state my position. As a minority myself in this country, equal treatment is a very, very important asset of this country. And by the law, we have now such a protection. But what I don't understand is that since I'm different, treat me differently. And they're trying to make it unequal justice based upon racial background. For example, then each ethnic group, some particular ethnic groups such as Chinese people, when they came here, Chinese Exclusion Act, and the Japanese people, when they were unequally treated, unfairly treated by the internment camps. and they got hurt too. And any other Hispanic groups or the Filipinos, they can say their own experiences. This country is a melting pot of different racial backgrounds, cultures by the open immigration. So we are trying to find our rights for depending on no matter what kind of a background you may have, what racial background you have. I am trying to protect the equal treatment, the spirit that is inscribed in our law. But here, by changing the basic principle, you are trying to go backwards, saying that I'm different, treat me differently. And the school segregation issue was a very, very important for black people. And then many ages of a struggle to achieve that gap, that not to treat differently, segregate. We are equal. Treat me in the same as you are, and allow us, our children, to be in the same segregated, not segregated, in the mixed classrooms. But now you are trying to change that backwards. So that's what I don't understand.
If I may, Mr. Chair, have a moment.
You know, I was trying to solve the issue because the author misunderstands my approach, my question. That's the reason. And then after that, you'll have plenty of time. Senator, do you have something to say about?
Was not planning on coming up here today. Going to let Assemblymember Jackson do this, but I feel compelled to speak as chair of the California Legislative Black Caucus. There are a couple of things that have really disturbed me today. I would like anyone to point out in the language where it specifically highlights black people. Show me in the language where it talks about giving preferential treatment to those of African descent. Just because it is being championed by the California Legislative Black Caucus does not mean that we are here fighting for ourselves and only ourselves. We are probably the only group that has constantly fought for this country to uphold its promise to every single person, regardless of race, gender, religion, whatever. So as you all sit up here and you focus on funding for black students, funding and education for black students, because of this bill, please point out to me where it says that. I will wait. I didn't think so. People ask for concrete examples. What we are asking for is for California to be able, as was stated by one of the witnesses, is for California to be able to be the best state and provide the best opportunity for everyone who lives here, regardless of your race. And understanding that status quo, this race neutral, is not working for everyone. This allows California, as was stated, to have more tools in their tool belt, which was snatched away after Prop 209. Now, I'm a little older than maybe some of the people in this room, but I was in school prior to Prop 209. And I remember a time where there was an issue with black male achievement. And so in my area, San Diego Unified School District created a program that specifically focused on black male achievement in some of the schools that had the worst outcomes. They created something called pupil advocates for schools. And what they saw over time with those individuals at that school, specifically to work with black males, but not exclusively to work with black males, was that the achievement gap closed or narrowed, and it improved the outcomes of everyone at that school. The black male pupil advocate at my school became my coach for my my Noes team, the National Organization of Black Chemists and Chemical Engineers. He became like a second father to me. Last time I checked, I'm not a black male, but I benefited, and so many other people benefited from having him at that school. The entire school benefited, and our entire scores went up. Brown versus Board of Education was not about let us all get together. It was about resources. It was about the fact that schools that black and poor people went should not get second, third-hand material. It is about the fact that the curriculum should be diverse. Now, what was a consequence of that was integration, but that is not necessarily what Brown versus Board of Education was about, because we understand that certain institutions that focus on certain individuals, like historically black colleges and universities, do exceptionally well for all students. I went to Xavier. We weren't 100% black. Xavier had one of the few pharmacy schools in Louisiana, and do you know who primarily made up our pharmacy school? Asians, people of Asian descent. But it is a school that is a historically black college and university that does well for black students, but all students that are there. And I will tell you what the damage has done with Prop 209 is that when I started here in the Assembly, I had a bill, AB 2774. Because we know that we have LCFF funding that we give to certain groups, but we still have some disparities. And so it was going to also do a different classification for the lowest performing subgroup based on race, whether it was black, whether it was Asian, whether it was Latino, and we could not get that through because of the concern of Prop 209. That would have allowed for schools and California to say, hey, at this point, African American students are the lowest achieving, so maybe we need to provide more tutors at schools that they attend, which is not exclusively black schools, but it's providing more resources in that area so that this group can start to, the achievement gap can start to close. And when they're no longer at the bottom, we can see which other schools need. So that is the harm of Prop 209. But I want to make it very clear that, yes, we are the California Legislative Black Caucus, but as black individuals, we have always shouldered the burden for everyone else to ensure that America lives up to its dream and its promise. This is not just about black people. This is about allowing California to have as many tools in their toolbox as they can so that we as a state can get better, and that our children, all of our children, regardless of your race, can be successful in their future. Thank you.
Thank you for your additional input. My still point is that I know this amendment is trying to recognize a different race and then ethnicity. However, author stated, emphasized, do you understand the black culture, black people, how we got here and what we suffered, and that dark age was over, but you objected as a minority person myself, I would like to be concerned for our children will be on the equal basis rather than being treated differently based upon race. Suppose this ACR 7 is passed. What the reality, if this was passed at this moment, the next year, what the outcome do you envision as a result of the benefit of this ACR 7?
First, Mr. Chair, I really would like to close at this time.
One moment. The rules do not permit the chair to monopolize the microphone. I still like to have a moment.
Yes, it's my turn. I'm
Mr. Chair, you've been speaking for the last 15 minutes. Respectfully, I'd like to have my time as a committee member.
Okay, I will now recognize you. You can ask your question.
Well, first off, I'd just like to point out the fact that the two witnesses supporting Prop 209 are not members of communities of color, and underscores why ACA 7 is necessary. The proposed constitutional amendment before us is an important step to dismantle the historical systems of oppression that have been laid out by members of the Black Caucus and members here who are supporting the constitutional amendment. I was proud to vote in support of ACA 5 Weber, and I am proud to stand in strong support of ACA 7 today and stand with the Black Caucus and all those supporting, especially as a former member of the Latino Caucus, as a former chair of the Latino Caucus, and like to just ensure that my voice is added to the reasons why it is so important to move this bill now and how necessary it is.
Okay, any other? Senator Allen, do you have any comments?
Well, I'll just say, when I first saw the bill, I thought, oh gosh, we're going to go back to another big ballot fight that's similar to what was done before. But I of course, saw that, which I supported the last ACA, but this is much more carefully crafted, and I think it's not fair to cast it in the same light. It's really focusing on the ability to do certain kinds of programs that can make a difference for disadvantaged kids from communities of color in various educational settings without impacting things like higher ed admissions and other issues that have proven incredibly contentious. So I recognize the fact that this is in some of the same space of some of those discussions and how contentious those discussions are. But I think this has been really carefully crafted, and I'm very happy to support it today.
Okay. Assemblyman Jackson, would you like to close?
I would like to thank my colleagues of the Black Caucus. I would like to thank my witnesses. I would like to thank senators that are in support of. I would like to thank my senator, who represents me here in the legislature as well. At the end of the day, we have got to make sure that the U.S. and California's Constitution is fully realized for everybody. And ACA 7 will help us to move just one more step forward. So with that, respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Here's a note. Author, would you clarify that